Carlos, while we got you, and I know this was near and dear to your heart because it's just happened, but a question I get, a lot of our members want to bring their wife into the business. So I think what happens is, why did you decide to bring your wife in the business, and what is it your wife is going to do to help the firm grow?
Well, first of all, you know, I have to give credit to my idols, William and Sherry. They really, you know, when I went to Dallas and I met them, I just saw myself in them in the future. You know, they've taken on the roles that they've taken, and they work together, and they've built a really nice business. And so, you know, that's one of the tidbits that I picked up on in the mastermind. My wife and I had been talking about it for a while, and you know, she had a steady job making income with benefits, insurance, and so on. So it's a little bit scary, Ken, when you decide, okay, you know what, we're going to make this move, and you know what, my family, my home, everything is going to depend on home inspections. And so, you know, that's a pretty big step to take. Now, the very important thing, and I think William and Sherry will agree, that you need to have is a plan. You cannot do this, I do not recommend it, if you do not have a plan. A specific, detailed plan that includes a plan of action, that includes a calendar, that includes a brain dump of some sort, like a mind map. These are all skills that I picked up, you know, through the group, through the mastermind group and the home inspection center. So I can't say it enough. If you're looking to bring on your wife or your husband or whatever the case may be, learning how to plan for that is vital. I mean, that is the key.
And Carlos, what are some of the things that your wife is going to be doing for the firm?
Besides telling me what to do on a constant basis, Ken, is that what you're asking? Yeah, okay. Besides deciding if I stay on or not, you know, she's got the power. Besides that, she is actually taken on the marketing administrative position, which means she's not answering the phones, Ken, which was another, you know, she would be fantastic at that, but I don't think it's the best use of her time and her talents and her treasure. So what we've done is we put her in a very, very heavy marketing position where she's going to be coordinating lunch and learns and coordinating presentations and, you know, making follow-up phone calls and getting things, events organized and things like this. She's working on PowerPoint presentations. She's very, you know, she's very good with crafts and art. So she's decorating candy houses, and you know, she's getting involved with all that aspect of the business, an aspect of the business that really allows the business to grow. So it's a very important, you know, position within the company.
And if you had to do all those things, you couldn't move forward as fast, could you?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I've tried to juggle all that, Ken. I mean, you know, when you're a one-man shop, and then even when you turn into a multi-firm, you're still, you know, your time is divided into so many areas that if you tried to do all of it, what you'd do is you'd wind up in a hospital bed. So, you know, yeah, I mean, and that's not what you want.
You go from being 7 feet tall to 6'3".
Yes, sir.
Weight on your shoulders.
That's right.
It's a
I can't tell you, you know, this only happened a couple of weeks ago, and just last night I was telling her how alleviated I feel with a lot of these things, because, you know, at the end of the day, like Jeremy was saying earlier, it falls on me, and now, you know, I have someone to share that love and excitement with, right?
That's good. That's good. Let's move over here to Jeremy and talk to him about this topic. When you coach him, what are you going to tell him?
I have to agree with Carlos 100%. You've got to have a plan. You have got to plan this to the T. As far as, you know, if you're going to bring a spouse in, it doesn't matter, or even someone else into the firm, you've got to have a plan of what they're going to be doing, what their responsibilities are going to be, and make sure it's clear and everybody understands the plan. That's important as well.
Because, you know, I think what happens is, you brought a valid point. You have to look at your wife as an employee of the company. Okay, and all employees deserve the right to know what they need to be doing.
That's right.
I mean, without that, how are they going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And how are you going to judge their performance?
And they need to know, and you need to know. And with us, Rachel is doing, my wife is doing some behind-the-scenes work with us. She's doing some reconciling. and doing some administrative work, which we are slowly getting into and showing her how to do all that. And just like Carlos said, man, that sharing the wealth and also sharing some of the weight, but it sure helps. It sure helps.
I could see that in this case, wealth is a synonym for pain.
That's right.
Oh, I can see where you guys are going with it.
But when we do, as Carlos mentioned too, we look at William and Sherry and see how they've done it, and pick their brains and talk to them about it. And it's wonderful to be able to have that resource, and they can say, hey, do it like this and don't do it like this, because we know we've been down this path before.
Yeah, working as a team like that. We have some very successful husband and wife teams in the membership side, including William and Sherry, no question about it. Let's move over to them, because I'll be interested to hear Sherry's perspective.
Actually, I started into the business with him with no plan. We actually were so busy with volume and had just hired our first home inspector that William was still answering the phone, and I was still kind of in the background. And booking 18 orders a day, I immediately had to step in and start taking over the phones and some of the responsibilities. And what I did for him is I took over everything that I could possibly take over from him to make the business move forward and to take that weight off of him. So I ran that route for probably about a year or so, answering phones, doing all the office work and marketing and everything else, until I realized, wait a minute, I need some help too. So I hired some office personnel to help me, and that has been a big plus for us, because we know what each other is good at as far as how we can benefit the business. So it starts with him, and then things that he needs done, I take over, and things that I can dedicate on to somebody else, I do that in my office, so that we just kind of pass it down the line and make it work that way. But no plan with us. I hopped right in.
Yeah. But we are split up now. I mean, we both understand
we are now.
our responsibilities. We do what we do best and delegate the rest. I mean, you've heard me say that before, but that's what it amounts to. And we don't. We're really careful not to make any executive decisions on our own. I mean, we'll discuss any major moves or major concerns with each other, so we both have our head in the game, heading in the same direction at all times. The wind beneath my wings here. I mean, without her, I would still be out there in the trenches, I'm sure. So, and having your spouse versus hiring an employee, I think the advantage of that is, it's like you said, you need a retreat where you don't talk about business, and that's tough to do. I think it probably takes duct tape across our mouth to keep that from happening. So, I mean, you might start out that way, but it always ends up coming back to what we do and what we could do better.
You'll have to learn the trick I have with Miss B. She starts it, the first thing I do is hold my hand up, just like this. I don't want any. I can't take any more. You both need to learn that trick. Now, Sherry, I know that your list, you got overloaded. Your list got like way big, because your job description had all your things plus everything else. And so what you've done is you've said, hey, here's the things I want to keep, and here's the things I want to do something else with. Talk about that for a minute, because that's very important.
Well, at that time I was answering the phone, occupying a lot of my time. I didn't have time for the marketing, the accounting, my family, for instance. So I got to the point myself that, I told William, I really need some help. So I set out to find somebody that could answer the phones for me with a good disposition, good attitude, willing to help the company grow. And I found that person within the last probably year and a half. She has taken over the phones for us. That has allowed me to move on towards the marketing, the financials, the CE licensing for inspectors, setting up lunch and learns, different things like that. So I can't explain to you enough how much that has helped me just to not have those phones. So I agree with Carlos and what he's doing there. Having his wife go into a marketing position versus going onto the phones is a very wise move, because no spouse that comes into this type situation needs to answer the phones. They're so much capable of better things by learning those from the husband, that don't really need to be on those phones. You need to get off of those and move on to something else that you can help him with.
I think when the husband is in the business and the wife is on the phone, you never have a chance to take a vacation.
That's true.
Well, you never get a chance to even see each other. I mean, I was always on the phone. He was always running the inspectors, and we never had that chance to talk, to communicate, to make those executive decisions and things. There just wasn't the time. So putting my phones on to somebody else was the best move I ever made.
That is